I wish I could say the EPA was the only major threat coming out of Washington, D.C. these days, but I can't do that. When you look at the Department of Interior and what they're trying to do to deep water drilling from the standpoint of a moratorium, my friend Haley Barbour, I thought, was pretty spot on when someone asked him about that, and they said, well, you know, what do you think about this, Governor Barbour? He said, well, you know, I kind of put it in the same category as if there was an aircraft accident and an airplane crashes, Alex, and shutting down the entire air travel industry, the entire industry of air transportation would have about the same effect. And you know, we're going to continue to battle this in court. You know, unfortunately, while we're doing that, there are going to be companies moving their rigs out of the Gulf. They're going to be going to Africa, offshore of Africa, and Americans are going to be wondering how they'll replace 30 million barrels of oil that's going to be lost in the course of a 6-month moratorium. Now, you all know I'm an Aggie, and I don't take everything that comes out of LSU as the gospel truth, but it's pretty hard to not accept this recent study that came out where they projected the impact of the moratorium on Texas. According to their research, it'll cost Texas $633 million in lost economic impact, 2,492 lost jobs, 153 million in lost earnings for Texas workers. Now, kind of continuing that fascination that Washington has with one-size-fits-all, Congress is now considering legislation that would allow the federal government to dictate how states regulate energy production within their borders. That's a very bad idea. Texans know better how to care for our state, care for our resources, care for our people. For that matter, the environment that we live in. Texans know better our safety, our economic well-being than Washington's ever going to do. Just as Texas led the way in the energy production in the last century, we're going to lead the way in improving energy safety. Those answers are going to be found in this state. They're going to be found in laboratories and in professors and students' minds in universities like Rice. Washington, D.C. needs to free the states, to innovate, to compete. I happen to think our nation as a whole would be better off. And I know that finding the solutions to the issues that confound us can be found in the states competing for those answers rather than Washington, D.C. I truly believe that's what our founding fathers thought. The 10th Amendment holds that the powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution nor prohibited to it by the states are reserved to the states, respectively, or to the people, the 10th Amendment. Here in Texas, we followed 4 pretty simple principles of governing. Bill, I tell people, I said, I'm just a little animal science major from the beloved Texas A&M, but I get it about the principles of governing and the simplicity of them. Don't spend all the money. Have a tax and a regulatory policy that is fair and predictable. A legal system that doesn't allow for oversuing, and an accountable public school system that basically produces a skilled workforce. And then you need to get out of the way, government, and let the private sector do what the private sector does best, which is create the jobs and in turn creates the wealth. And our common sense approach to that has been working. When you look at what has happened in this state over the last decade, from the wealth that's been created, the jobs that have been created, and you stack Texas up against any other state, And we are the model, I suggest, that other states should look to. Texas is moving in the right direction. We're cleaning our air. We're supplying energy for the nation. We're creating jobs. We're growing, all at the same time. I much prefer that approach that we're taking here in Texas than that top-down takeover approach of Washington, D.C. Rather than a moratorium, I'll stick with the creation of the Gulf Project that I announced a few weeks ago, a consortium of the brightest minds in Texas academia, including the National Corrosion Center that you mentioned here at Rice, along with the public and the private experts, all coming together to address this issue that has been raised by the Deepwater Horizon. We need new techniques. We need new facilities to test the safety and the reliability of these current and next generation equipments. We also need better equipment to monitor these wells while they're being drilled and while they're in production. I much prefer our approach because it gets the experts in the same room. It leverages our state's unique blend of science and experience and pursues solutions that create jobs and actually solve real problems. Texans can do it, just as we always have. It'll take hard work. It'll take innovation. It'll take common sense. But we'll find the answers if our friends in Washington will at least step aside and let Texans have cleaner air and environmental quality and safer energy production. We'll continue to produce the energy for the rest of this country. Renewable energy sources that Americans need to grow and to succeed. And I'm a perpetual optimist. I think our best days are ahead of us. The innovations that are in our universities and our laboratories and our private sector innovators, I know that Texas will continue to provide the leadership and the energy our nation needs. And those of you in this room are on the point of the spear. And I wanted to come today and say thank you for not only your innovation, your optimism, and your commitment to finding the answers that confound us, but also challenge us. God bless you, and thank you all for letting me come.